All right, so today we're diving into what is basically a high stakes corporate detective story. We're going to follow an auditor as they peel back the layers of a company, looking for the truth that's buried deep inside the numbers. And let me tell you, this isn't just some boring accounting exercise. No, this is all about strategy, it's about confrontation, and yeah, it's about uncovering some pretty big secrets. So, we're jumping right into the middle of the action here. Picture this, a super tense boardroom. It's a total standoff. You've got the auditor on one side, and they're demanding unrestricted access. And on the other side, the company's CFO, who is desperately trying to keep a certain part of the business under wraps. But then, with just a stroke of a pen, that whole battle of wills, it's over. And now, the real investigation can finally begin. And that signature? That is a huge first win for the auditor. I mean, that restrictive clause is gone, which means they've basically been handed the keys to every single room in the house. The case is officially open. Okay, so where does a corporate detective even start, right? Well, you start with a master plan. And in the world of auditing, this whole process is governed by a standard known as SA 300. You can think of it as the blueprint for the entire investigation. Now, this is absolutely critical to understand. An audit plan isn't something you just write once and forget about. It's not carved in stone. It's more like a living, breathing document. It has to change and adapt as you uncover new clues. It's this constant cycle, you know? You plan, you discover something new, and you have to replan. So SA 300 really breaks down into two key parts. First, you have the overall audit strategy. This is the why. It's your big picture game plan. And why does this matter so much? Well, because it forces the team to focus their energy on the areas with the highest risk. You don't want them wasting time on stuff that doesn't matter. Then, that strategy guides the detailed audit plan. That's the how. This part gets into the nitty-gritty, listing out the specific actions you're going to take. So, you see, the why makes the how both smart and effective. All right, so the strategy's in place. Now it's time to stop planning and start doing. It's time to hit the pavement and gather some clues. And the way auditors do this is by using something called risk assessment procedures, or RAP for short. And this is all laid out in another standard, SA 315. So, what in the world is RAP? Honestly, the best way to think about it is as an active hunt for red flags. It's the framework, the set of tools our corporate detective uses to methodically search for any place where the company's financials could be seriously off. And that could be by accident, or, as we might find out, completely on purpose. And this is that forensic toolkit we've been talking about. There are 4 core tools. First, you've got inquiry. That's just what it sounds like, asking a ton of questions to management and staff. Then, analytical procedures. This is where you crunch the numbers, looking for anything that seems weird or out of place. Third is observation, literally just watching the company's processes in action. And finally, inspection. This is where you get your hands dirty, examining physical records and documents. An auditor has to use all 4 of these to really get to the truth. And it's by using these exact tools that we get to the real heart of the mystery, the electroplating division at Titanium Robotics. Now, remember, this is the exact area the CFO tried so hard to hide from them. So the audit manager is sent in to investigate, and what she's about to find is going to change absolutely everything. And here it is, the first major clue. It's discovered by combining 2 of those tools we just talked about, observation on the factory floor and inspection of the maintenance logs. And what does she find? The zinc sulfate vats are ancient. They're failing, they're leaking toxic chemicals all over the place. This is a massive environmental and financial time bomb, just ticking away. So, when you find something like that, what's the first question you ask? It's pretty logical, right? Where's the money set aside to clean this mess up? A problem this big? You have to have money put aside for it. In accounting speak, that's called a provision. But when the audit manager asked to see it on the books, well, the answer she got was, let's just say, very strange. And boom, this is it. This is where the fraud comes to light. Instead of recording the cleanup costs as an expense, which, would lower their profits, the company was calling it an asset capacity enhancement. I mean, can you believe that? They were taking the cost of patching up toxic leaks and pretending it was an investment that made the company more valuable. It is literally the exact opposite of what's really happening. This discovery right here, it's a complete game changer. We're not talking about a minor accounting error anymore. When you find a deliberate attempt to hide a liability this big, it completely changes the nature of the audit. The auditors now know for sure they are not dealing with simple, honest mistakes. And this brings us to probably the single most important concept in any audit, the risk of material misstatement, or as they call it, ROM. You can just think of this as the auditor's term for the smoking gun. It's that critical moment when they confirm, yep, there's a really high chance that these financial statements are seriously, fundamentally wrong. And at Titanium Robotics, they've just found their smoking gun. And the impact is immediate. The risk gets classified at the assertion level, which is just a fancy way of saying it affects very specific parts of the financial statements. In this case, their fixed assets are way too high, and their provisions, that cleanup money, are way too low or non-existent. And the consequence of all this, that initial audit strategy they came up with, it's basically useless now. They have to go back to the drawing board and completely rethink their approach. So that's the bottom line. This whole thing has just been upgraded. It went from a routine checkup to a high-risk, full-blown investigation. And that how we talked about, the detailed plan, well, it's about to get a whole lot more aggressive, a lot more detailed, and you can bet a lot more confrontational. So, what are the big takeaways from our little corporate detective story here? Well, this case actually gives us a really clear playbook for how a real-world audit unfolds from start to finish. Let's break down those key lessons. Okay, so here's the playbook. Summarized. You've got SA 300, which is all about planning. Remember, the why, your strategy, has to guide the how, your detailed plan. Then there's SA 315, which gives you that forensic toolkit, the 4 ways you go out and find clues. And finally, ROM, the risk of material misstatement. That's the discovery, the smoking gun that just changes the entire game. And that's actually where we're going to leave this investigation for now. The auditors found the fraud. They've totally changed their strategy. But this discovery, it just opens up a much, much bigger question, doesn't it? If management was willing to lie about this, what else are they hiding? The risk is sky high, the gloves are officially off, and you better believe the real deep dive is only just beginning.